Well, welcome again for another session. As I was saying earlier, if you have any questions, please feel free to raise your hand, interrupt. It is a small class, so we can take the time. Today, we're going to talk about a little bit about client relationships, kind of customer service, advertising, a little bit of marketing. And I know we have uh, two different levels of business. One with Sarah and Harvest, that they have a large school, and with Millen, Mindy, and Perla, they have a small school. So I'm going to try to make a balance with the approach. And most of this, I'm sure all of you already are doing, but I'm just going to give my 2 cents on how we can view other things a little from a different perspective, or maybe the same perspective that you already have. So let's start. The purpose of this topic is pretty much client retention, especially in schools. You have every business has an attrition, a natural attrition, because the age, or because the trends in the business. So for us, we need to make sure plan ahead, because especially those that are taking care of young kids. In 5 years, the one who has 5 years now, in 3 years going to have 8. Or those that have like a kid right now in middle school, by in 3 years it's going to be already in high school. So there is a natural attrition in your industry, probably more tangible than in any other business, because in any other business, a restaurant, you have people that probably go from the 35 to 40, they have a long term. But in the school, you have to think about probably 3-5 years. That's the livelihood of your business. In 5 years, if you don't get new business, if you don't get new students in 5 years, probably you're going to be in and out of business. So I think for you, it's very critical. In 10 years, if you have the client, if you don't fit in the people that are coming up in 10 years, you're going to probably be out of business. So as I said, a student in 3 years, it's going to be 6, and in 5 years, it's going to be 8, and in 10 years, it's going to be 13. So probably your business life is very short. So I think this is important. So you need to make sure that as much as possible, try to create a spreadsheet and try to put some dates in there so you can track your students. I know some the classes for the small daycares are 8 people, 8 kids. So you can really track the 8 kids. But if you have 100 kids, it's going to be a little more difficult. But at least try to target the family, not the kid, but the family. There's the purpose. Is the client are the parents, not the kids. The kids are the beneficiaries of your services. So we stay focused that are the parents. So the purpose of making this chart is because I recommend that you have at least have a touch with the parents at least every 3 months, a personal touch, a touch that is really contact, in which you know them, you learn from them, because they're going to tell you a lot of information. They're going to tell you a lot of information about your business and about the nature that is about what's going on. So in our business, we have you're going to learn from them. You're going to learn from them, from the bad service. Your clients are going to go because you provide bad service, or because of the competition, or something that causes it's a major cost that it is out of our control. It's a little bit, I don't know if I don't remember if we talked about this at the beginning of the class about the strength and weaknesses. Some of them are internal, and the opportunities and threats, they were external. So if we lose a customer, it's either because we did not satisfy their needs because they went with the competition, and the competition could have been because whatever, maybe the price, maybe the proximity, whatever, or something that it happened. They lost their job, or they were aging. And in your case, you cannot stop the kids from growing, right? So obviously they're going to move away, and or relocation or something that it is out of control. So the same thing, we have a range of what is in my control and what is out of my control. So let's focus on the ones that are in your control, not on the ones that I cannot control. Because the ones that you cannot control, precisely, it is useless. You can die of anxiety, try to worry about them and think about them, but let's try to work on the ones that we can control, and how we can approach that control of those causes that we may lose a client or we may retain a client. So the purpose of this touching points with your customers is pretty much to know them because they are the ones that are talking about you. They are the ones that are recommending you. They're the ones that are experiencing your service. So, and to know the client is with the purpose of your business. The purpose of your business. I mean, you can know the client about as much as you can, but the purpose is to learn about your business too. So, I don't know if you remember the first class we talked about the benefit and the product. People bring you their children for something. They bring you their children for something. That something is the benefit, and that's why they bring them to you. And you need to know what that benefit is by talking to your client, by listening. Many times it's not talking to them, hey, how are you? It's just by listening to them, what they're saying about, well, I like this place because they and they fill in the blank. Right. So that's what you need to make an analysis. And I mean, the product is, yes, you're a school or you're a childcare, but that doesn't give the real value of what they give you the children. They give you the children for something. And that's the purpose of trying to know your client. I mean, some basic questions that I would ask or I try to understand, because it's where they work, because and what's going in the industry. Do they work in the city? Maybe there's a city planner. Do they work for I don't know, a company that it is growing that you do not know? How about the majority of your students? They work in a winery. I mean, this is a development. I mean, winery is a big industry in the Central Coast. And as you see where they work, you can learn. You start looking for opportunities. Wow, they work in the city. Okay, how about if I can market in the city? Or they work in the wine industry. Well, what kind of level the wine industry, right? Are they working how can I benefit from the industries where they work? Because I'm sure they're not the only parents that work in the place where they work. So if somehow they recommend your school to other parents, then that's how you retain your clients. So by knowing where they work, you can probably, whomever is in charge of marketing can work a marketing campaign. And if there's going to be, depending on the role that they have, and that's where you start becoming a little creative, right? Towards you can have an open house and you can say, hey, can I talk to your employee, to your payroll person and invite him to come for an open house? Or can I sponsor, you can probably sponsor an event without whatever they work. I mean, it's a little more creative within what is called promotions, right? You can, or can I give you flyers and you can put them in payroll checks in the payroll? Or can you partner with their website? Maybe probably the website and say you can talk to the people that are doing their website. You can put an ad. I mean, there's something you can monitor even their Facebook. and or so you can start building up the relationships. Another question that I would ask definitely is, where do they live? Where do they live? It is why is that? Well, it tells you the zip code. It tells you obviously in the block where they live. They also, I'm sure they're not the only parents. They're going to be more parents in where they live. Or maybe they tell you, oh yes, I just bought a house in this new development, or I just got a house. I mean, they can tell you. I mean, you can see how many other schools are around where they live. You can see their competition in those schools. Maybe you realize. I mean, there was a session that I had with one daycare provider that she never asked this question, and when they were asking the question, where do they live, she realized that none of her children were from parents that they lived in the 10-mile radius. All of them were coming from outside where they live, and the majority of them were working in 3 or 4 places where that were in less than 5 miles from the daycare. So I don't know if this makes any sense. By realizing that they were not living where they were close to her daycare, but there were parents that they were dropping off the kids because they bring their kids to work, not to work, but they drop them off and they went to work like less than 5 miles of radius from the daycare. So that gave her a different dynamics, and she was able to capitalize that with other parents and understanding your demographics. So you need to know where they live. I mean, that's what the purpose of that. Another question is, how many children? How many children do they have? Right? Is this their first children? I mean, usually parents have 2 or 3. Are they the last? Are they the first one? Because that's you can start building a funnel, or you can see, wow, that because if they have, let's say they have children 4 to 5 years of age, obviously a parent that has a child for 3 or 4, they have their children. Oops, sorry. They gather together. They go to parties, right? They go to parties and they invite the kids. So where do they take their kids to parties? And probably you can find ways in which you can do some kind of promotion with the children. How many children? What are the ages? Another question that I would ask is, what other extracurricular activities do they do? Do they go to the movies? Do they go horseback riding? Do they go scuba diving? Do they go? I mean, because the kids, whatever they do with their kids, they're gonna take their kids somewhere else where they're gonna be more kids, and that's where you start building the purpose of your business. All these questions are for the purpose of your business, for marketing, but understanding the benefits, right? Let's say the extracurricular activities, they take them all, and I'm going to make a statement here. Most of your clients, they take their kids to horseback riding lessons, and 60% of your business is take the kids to horseback riding. What would you do? I mean, it will start giving you wealth. They like horses, so then probably I have to do some horse husbandry, to take care of horses as an added extracurricular activity for your school. I mean, I'm just saying something, right? Or the person that works with so some of those are just some of the questions. They're going to be more, right? They're probably more. But again, just as you talk to them and they share this information, if you have it, just make a statistics and learn from them. Probably you already know it, but it will give you more things. And always remember, to hear in that conversation the benefit. when you have the conversation with the parents, have the benefit. So as you have your chart here, you can say, okay, have I talked to this? Have I made have I made this person? No, but then you can check your mark. Okay, so I'm going to make the effort that in March, I'm going to talk to this person. And once you talk to them, you check it and you can see a roadmap of all your clients, if you have talked to them, or if you haven't talked to them, and it will incite you to have that dialogue. And again, it's the service is just the learning from them. And again, with the purpose of probably understanding your I mean, there's going to be a dialogue with the parents, and again, for you, is the purpose is just a little bit of marketing. That's marketing, really know your audience. But now, what do you do with it? Now that you already have this information, then what do you do with it? Well, you can do some advertising. And the advertising is pretty much the media that reaches clients, that are going to reach their friends, that are going to reach other parents in the area where they tell you, and that you can confirm that they already have other kids of their age. So advertising is very simple. There can be flyers. There's the good thing about flyers is that they're visual, they're tangible, and they can be seasonal. And where are you going to place them? Many times, we make the mistake to place them in the children's backpack, but how many times, even with our kids, we never opened their backpacks, right? And 2 months later, it's like, oh, wow, I didn't know we have a frog there. And the frog's already, so, but the display of flyers, it can be, you can work with the areas that they tell you if there's some possibility of centers for them, and you can just put the flyers, or you can hand them to the parents, send them to the parents, not to the kids, because the kids, we know that they don't do it. Obviously, we can capitalize on doing Google My Business. If you don't have Google My Business, I mean, I know for most small businesses, because this is your house, you don't want to put your house on the map. But if you are a business, a standalone business, I recommend to do Google My Business. And in Google My Business, you can put promos, you can put images, you can put a lot of things. The good thing is with Google My Business, you can make it more regional, more areas, because by placing, I mean, there's a section in Google My Business that says areas that you serve, and you can put, the areas where these people, where the parents told you that they live, or where they do their activities. And the good thing about that is that you can go every week, and many times Google My Business maybe have up to 5 addresses. You can five locations. Well, next week you change it, and the more you change those things, the more Google perceives, or the system, the algorithm perceives that there's some livelihood in that site, and more possibilities of ranking higher. Many times, of course, we go with Facebook or Instagram. Have to be sensitive, because I don't think it's applicable to your business, especially if you're going to put faces of children. I think there's a sensitivity there that you have to be very diligent. It's like everything else. There's a risk of bringing your business into a social media that no one is monitoring. So don't expose the face of any children, and don't expose your business to predators, if we can talk about that. That's they're perps out there. So is it applicable? Maybe yes, maybe not. It's your call. Make sure that it's going to the right people. I would never recommend to have images of children. Because it's just for safety. I don't want my kids to be the face out there in public. So don't do that. And again, we do not know what is out there, but or are we within the same circle of clients? So try to put it within the circle of clients, right? Where your clients are. But remember, there's a big I don't know. If you have a website, yeah, that's a possible advertising. If you have a website, you can create a website, and not next week, but on and in 2 weeks, I'm going to give a class on how to build websites, and which is a very simple exercise. But working with a website, the good purpose about the website is that you can geo-target your website. There's always, you can put a little bit of updates in your website to make it geo-targeted. By using the address, by using the zip code, by using the geographic zone, by using cities, you can make your system geo-targeted, and making sure that you are using those keywords or those words within the description of your paragraphs. I mean, that's something that you can do. Your communications with your clients, again, I mean, well, with advertising you can do radio. I mean, especially for Star and Harvest, if you have a big school, you can do radio. You can do cable TV. Cable TV is also geo-targeted. It is a little bit it's maybe a little pricey, but if you know where your clientele is and you see the growth of your business, I mean, you can target it. I mean, I'm sure you can. Again, remember the ad for schools is for the parents, not for the children. So make sure you don't put your ad in Nickelodeon or in cartoons, because the kids are watching the cartoons, but the parents may not be watching the cartoons, right? So make sure the ad goes for the parents, and the ads goes for the parents to cover that benefit that they're looking for. If the majority of your parents are telling you that they drop the kids because they don't know what to do with them, well, that's a benefit. It's sad to know that most of my students are kids that their parents do not know what to do with them. But that's the benefit. Unfortunately, you realize that, okay, I thought I was doing something better, but the majority of my parents are telling me that they don't know what to do with them. Well, then that will tell you what it is. And because you already know where they live, where they go, where they think, and if the majority of the people think that way, then that's the trend that you're going to do. But if the majority of the parents says, no, I like that my kids are learning different languages, or they like the arts, or they like the mathematics, or they're learning every time I come and see that they're learning, well, that's the benefit. The benefit is that you're cultivating the soul of these children, right? You're cultivating the soul. So basically that's going to be your benefit, and that's what you're going to be advertising through your website, through Facebook, or through whatever. So the communications, again, with the parents, I'm going to jump now to communications with the parents. We have once a quarter, at least make sure, I mean, if you have a lot of parents, it's at least twice a year, but I would recommend at least once a quarter to talk to a parent, to have that engagement. I think in academics, you have to make some, what's it called? You have an open house. You also have the student parent teacher conference. That's those kind of thing, what it is with the parents. So if you are in marketing, you can have that conversation too, or be part of that conversation at the beginning of the quarter. You may have surveys if you want, but surveys may be something intrusive. They can be some intrusive, but if you are the president or the director of the school, you can definitely say, this if you have any questions, come to me, or they to know you. It's like the manager of the restaurant. It's different when you go to the manager. The manager, no one never says hello, how was the food? But if the manager goes out the food and asks you questions that have you enjoyed, it's a different approach. And I call that touching points. You're gonna touch the client in a sense. You're gonna be in touch with the customer. Another way of communication is newsletters. The newsletters, remember, is not advertising. This is communications. The advertising is you pay so your message can go out to create a benefit, to invite new people to come. And here, this is kind of the customer relations. It's the communications that you're going to have with your customers. So you can give some newsletters. I mean, I know so a lot of you are busy with the kids and their small business, but you can probably create a newsletter, electronic newsletter, and you can print it and make it available for them. As we're talking about the flyers. You can create events. Many times, some events could be an open house. That's very it's cumbersome. You have to pay overtime with the students, with the teachers, and probably be late. but you can do some events, Mother's Day play, or the summer, and depending on the information that you have. As I was talking, I mean, it's occurring to me, right? If the majority of your students work in with farms or with horses, you can do something related to horses in an event. They're the famous Christmas parties. The greetings, many times the greetings, just as simple as, hey, hi, how are you? Hey, hello, how are you? I'm here. And you stand at when the people are leaving or when the people are dropping off, many times just a greeting, hi, how are you? How was your week? That is important. So communications, make sure that you have a touch person with the parents at least once a quarter. So when we go back to our schedule here that we put in the front, this one, at least you can see visually, again, with Excel, you can see that, visually, I came in with him this quarter, second quarter. If you're too busy, at least make sure at least once a year you have a contact with a parent. It's something that let's try to touch points, talk to them, make sure that they receive the newsletter, make sure. Now, something about customer service. Customer service is important. Respond to their needs with honesty. We just many times we're gonna fail because we're not perfect. We're not perfect in our business. Maybe we made a mistake with sending the wrong newsletter, or maybe we make a mistake by grading. I mean, if we made a mistake, with honesty, always with honesty, but never confront. Even in social media right now, people put reviews. People put reviews in social media. Even in social media, never confront. Even in negative comments, negative statements, respond with a positive response. And how can we convert that negative response into a positive response? Many times it's saying, we thank you for your comments. They help us improve our quality of service. Or I'm sorry you didn't get. I mean, probably it's not a good idea to accept the guilt or to confirm the fault by saying, "Oh, I'm sorry you did this," or "I'm sorry you felt like this," because then we're accepting guilt. Never accept the guilt, but always respond with a positive response. Thank you for your comment. We will strive to make better. Or thank you for your comment. It helped us improve the areas where customers like you find weaknesses. Some kind of positive. Never accept the guilt. Oh, yes, I'm sorry, I serve you it's a restaurant. Oh, the soup was salty. Oh, I'm sorry you tasted the food salty. But we're going to do better. No. Don't accept the guilt. And it's a little tricky, and think about it. Don't respond right away. I've seen situations, you confront people online on social media. It doesn't build anything. You start building all this resentment, and all of that. People start making comments about your comments. Just be short, simple. Negative respond, positive response. Many times you have to draw the line. Many times, make sure that you know where and how to draw the line. That's for sure important, because the business is your business. It is your house. It is your way of livelihood. You don't need to have abusive, obsessive, disrespectful customers. I mean, if you're gonna try as much as possible, but if they become disrespectful, aggressive, pervasive with aggression, or disrespectful, you have to draw the line. Or maybe that they don't even pay. I know we're in business, and we like the kids, and the kids are beautiful, and we're going to give them. But if they're not paying in time, if they're not participating, if they're going to treat you with respect, you have to draw the line. And to draw the line, there's a lot of contracts. I mean, I think we're going to spend a little time here on contracts, especially for the daycares. But you have your policies and procedures. You have your policy. This is my policy, and your policy make sure that you put the line where you draw the line. You know, I will draw the line, or your child will be expelled if this doesn't happen, with absenteeism, with respect, with foul language, whatever. You know, you need to draw the line and be firm about it. Be firm about it, because it is your business. It's not fun. I mean, business is so difficult. You don't need to make it more difficult with people that are not going to respect you. I mean, so one thing is, we made a mistake and the customer is nice and he's right, and we try to modify it, and we work with honesty. We don't confront them, we put it in a positive way. But another way is when you are working with a difficult client, that you draw the line. You have to draw the line. There's a limit. There's a limit. And many times you don't need to give them second chances. Many times you don't need to give them second chances. You know, this is it. I'm not going to take this as a customer. It's your business. And as long as you have the guidelines, you know, people will understand, and it can protect you from many things. Do we have any comments or any feedback that you can share within the class? Feel free.
Hello guys. I want to ask if any of you has your business under a LLC or something like that, if it's better than just a sole as a own owner.
I think that the only benefit of putting an LLC is that well, you know, depends on how complicated you want. When you're a sole proprietor, all the money is yours. You can do with that money whatever you want. When you start building an LLC and we start building a corporation, then the money belongs to that entity. So there's some that start becoming a little. I mean, you have benefits, and you have benefits, and you have limitations. As an LLC, you have to pay I recommend that you pay yourself, instead of you taking all the profits. As an LLC, the profit still being yours. And as an LLC, there's a limited liability within creditors, that they may not go after your assets. But that's why you have insurance. You know, that's why you have insurance. Insurance is your first protection for your assets. I mean, it's just depending on the complexity of your business and how you want to work that out.
Gabe, I could share, we had to let a family go for reasons of incompatibility. And it was probably one of the hardest things we've had to do as owners, but so worth it. Like you said, drawing that line and protecting your business, protecting your staff. It's a hard thing to do, but it's worth it, because it takes that pressure off, and there's such a relief when you're not dealing with something that doesn't work in your business.
Yeah. And you're protecting your staff too. Okay, so I'm going to go into the little legalities that we do with customers. I mean, again, it's just a little description of what are what they call as part of the class, you know, it's about contracts. Contracts is that relationship that you have with your customer. I mean, so far, I mean, the purpose of client retention or customer relations is better to keep the client that we already have, but we know also that the client that we have is not going to be forever. So that's why we have to keep the client. At the same time, we need to work with new clients. We need to make sure that we have a funnel of people coming into our business, especially for this industry in which you are limited to the cycle of life. I mean, it's just in 10 years, if you don't get new students in 10 years, all of you will be out of business. You know, all of you are going to be maybe about 15 years. So I don't know. In case of Sarah and Harris, you go to 8th grade or 6th grade? 4th grade on?
Fifth grade.
Fifth grade. So in 5 years, in 5 years, that's a lot. So that's why you need to keep the clients happy, and as they depart, they talk about you. They share with you. I mean, a good customer. I mean, the word of mouth. A good customer still is the most reliable way of advertising. The word of mouth, the experience that a customer has is the best policy. But at the same time, you have to be attentive of where are these people coming from and what is happening in the industry in which they are, because they're telling you a lot about your industry. For you that are in Atascadero, I'm sure there's a lot of growth going in Paso Robles. There's going to be a lot of growth in Santa Margarita. Those things are talking. So just keep your eyes there in the development. Be friendly with the city. At all times, see what the city's doing in regards to new housing, and try to be friend with someone and say, probably city employees can be your best your best source of clientele, because that is important, especially in the matter of client retention. I mean, it doesn't help you to keep a client for 10 years because the kids, they cannot stay with you for 10 years. If you were in the restaurant industry or the hairdressing or in clothing, you know, the client can live with you for 20, 30, maybe 10, 20 years, but you are very sensitive. So you have to have that funnel. So marketing, advertising, contact, that is important. So now the topic that we're going to talk about is just contracts. It's part of the legal. It's not legality, but it's the nature of our industry, where we set the parameters, of our business. And again, I'm not an attorney, but we're going to talk a little bit about some way some relationships work, right? So pretty much a contract is a promise or a set of promises that are enforceable by law. It's an agreement enforceable by law. So if any of your documents are enforceable by law, then become a contract. If not, it's just, if this not enforceable by law, then it's not a contract. That's the definition of a contract, that anything that you have with another person, it is enforceable by law. And that's what it is. Is it the law to take care of children? No. It is the law that you don't abuse a child. Yes. So you got to be careful. That's kind of the things that we need to talk about. Then another element of the contract is that it is mutual consent. That means both parties have to have mutual consent. Both parties need to have mutual consent. Then consideration. Consideration is an exchange of value between those parties. And that's where the contract becomes, in your case, becomes irrelevant, because you're gonna charge a certain amount of money. That's the consideration. That's the value. That's the exchange for some services in which both parties are going to be mutually agreed. So pretty much your contract becomes more like a transaction, like a bank transaction, pretty much. But we're going to talk about this more. And then if there's no defense to the structure of any of this, it invalidates the contract. So if there's no promise of something that is enforceable by law, if it is not a mutual consent, and there's no consideration, then there's no contract. We cannot call it contract. And then, of course, the contract needs to have jurisdiction. In case of dispute, where are we going to find this dispute? Are we going to find the dispute? I mean, there are many corporations. They say, if there's a dispute, we're going to dispute it in New Jersey or in not New Jersey, but in Delaware, or we're going to dispute it in Texas, right? So if you're going to be in California, make sure it's that in your contract, where are you going to have the dispute? And many times, you have to discuss that you're not going to go into you're going to go to arbitration, or you're going to go to mediation. Mediation is different than arbitration, right? The arbitration is like that says an arbiter. Someone in the middle will say, okay, you get this, you get that. And mediation is where both parties agree to a term in which both of them are okay with what it is, right? So there are three different approaches. You can go to court, you can go to mediation, or you can go to arbitration. So there's something. And then there's a duty of good faith. There's a duty of good faith. So both of those parties enter in good faith to the contract. So now there are two different kind of laws. I mean, it's not a nature of, it's not in a sense a process of law that goes through the Senate, and then the House of Representatives, and then the Senate, and they go make a law. No, many times it's this difference. So for the contract, the law that governs the services are different than the law that governs the goods. So for services is the law of is the system of common law. Pretty much is the system of law. For goods, for example, I'm exchanging you something tangible, especially money or a house or a car, because they're tangible things that we exchange. That's pretty much with the Uniform Commercial Code Article 2 or USCC Article 2, which is not a law, but it was something that it was done by the American Law Institute and National Conferences Commissioners, adopted some of these rules, this code that relates to the transaction of goods. And this pretty has to do with the relationship with banks, deposits, and commercial transactions. It is different when you say, I'm going to sell you my car, or I'm going to sell you a computer, or I'm going to sell you a cell phone, because they're tangible goods. But with you, because you provide a service, you're going to be under the system of common law. And in system of common law, many times you're going to go into insurance law that protects you for the failure of something that you didn't intend to do in the delivery of that service. Now, a little bit of background between what is common law and civil law. I mean, this is in relation, especially for those who are. I have this talk, especially for people that are not familiar with the U.S. system, people that are from other countries. I make the difference that here in the United States, the principle is the legal system is the common law, while in other countries, the majority of the countries that are not, I would say not necessarily English speaking, but from British origin, the system is civil law, and they call civil law for civitas, which is a city, and we'll see a little bit difference. The process of common law, it is the precedent case is the law. The precedent case is the law. So, for example, we have a dispute between Peter and Maria, right? So the dispute of Peter and Maria, for whatever the situation was, it is brought to the case of the system, and then the court rules something or gives an opinion, and that's the new law. But then years later, Robert and Frank have a similar dispute. So the way they're going to approach Robert and Frank is based on what Peter versus Maria was the dispute. And based on that, they're going to be the judge. We're going to rule the situation with Robert and Frank unless there's something different that is not applicable within Peter and Maria. And we see this in our political system. You know, right now, the situation in which we are, well, the thing is, we haven't had this case before. And that's why, because we haven't had this case before, then we have to come up with a new rule. And based on whatever this new case is resolved, that's going to be the new rule. And then maybe 20 years or 100 years from now, there's going to be another similar case that is never had before. And it's going to be treated based on the previous case. And if there's nothing that it is relevant to the previous cases, then that's going to be the new law. So that's the process of common law. The precedent case becomes the law. In the case of civil law, I mean, you go to Italy, you go to France, you go to Mexico, you go to Algeria, you go to China, India, and other countries that are not based on common law. You know, the law is the law. This is the law, and especially in Mexico and Latin America, this is the code. So if you do something, if you do something, you're going to be based on what the law says. It's not based on a precedent law, on a precedent case. No matter what you did, that's what it is. So that's why in this situation of common law, you are proven innocent. I mean, well, you're innocent until proven guilty, because they're going to see if whatever case that has a precedent applies to your case. But in this case, in other countries, you know, you are guilty until proven innocent, because you broke the law, then you're going to be judged by this law. I'm going to put a silly example. I mean, let's say, for example, I'm just going to do a simple, silly case, right? Let's say, I'm sorry to use this case, but I usually use it because it's probably the one that I'm used to use, you know. Peter and Maria, Peter kills Maria's cow. So it's the first time that someone kills someone else's cow. So the judge says, okay, because you killed the cow, then you're going to pay whatever. I'm going to say, you know, $10 to the cow. But then Robert kills Frank's cow. So the law is that, okay, then you have to pay $10. But then Frank says, wait a minute, because the way I killed the cow, I was driving and the cow just came across my car and I run over the cow and I killed the cow. Oh, so the case between Peter and Maria, the way Peter and Maria killed the cow is because, you know, he was shooting and by accident he shot the cow. So because Peter and Maria killed the cow with a gun and Robert killed the cow with a car, because it's a different case, then it's not applicable. So then there's going to be a new case, and I'm going to say, well, if you kill the cow with a car or with a gun, it's going to be $20 or $60, whatever the case is. So every case is building on the previous case. And probably now it's going to be, instead of $20 because you killed the cow by accident, you know, you're going to go free. There's no case there. So the new law is now, if you kill a cow with a car by accident, you go free. In the civil law, in the civitas, the law is the law. You kill the cow, you spend 5 years in jail. 5 years in jail. Okay, so I killed the cow by accident. I killed the cow by a car. I killed the cow by a lightning. I killed a cow by whatever it was. You spend 5 years in jail. So this is the law, and you broke the law, you broke the code. That's the way. So that's the difference. That's the difference in the system. So the way when you are in a situation of a legal relationship with your customers, with the parents, you're going to be under this background of common law based on those principles that we talked. You're not going to be under the law of commercial goods. You're going to be in the service of common law. And many times it's going to be under the insurance law. Many times, it depends on the case. Depends on the case. Depends on the case. So even though it is a common law or civil law, both laws have a civil law, which is monetary damages. When damages have some monetary connotation, and criminal law. Criminal law is when there's some damages to a person. So, for example, assuming, and I'm going to say, you take your kid, you have a kid, and there's an accident, and the kid, it was a case, it was a particular case that the daycare, the daycare provider was carrying a hot cup of coffee, tripped and spilled on a baby, and the baby got burned because of the hot coffee. The baby got the coffee. Obviously, because there were personal damages on the kid, it's going to be criminal law. Again, and it will be under common law, right? It's going to be on the cases, and the insurance is going to protect her, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But let's say, for example, the coffee, instead of falling into the kid, fell into the sweater that was made out of silk. Because the sweater, it was the silk. It didn't hurt the person. Then it's going to be civil law. Does it make sense? So there's just a little discrepancy. And of course, we have in both laws, they have an appeal process. If you don't like what the law says, you have an appeal process. So in the civil law in the other countries, if someone else will review your case to see if they find you not guilty. But in the case of common law, pretty much as you say, my case is different from the others, and that's how you appeal, because my case does not apply to the new law that happens in the case, and that's where you can go forever. And if you have a lot of money, then you can overcome a lot of process of the appeal case. So that's pretty much a little bit of the background on the way it works. So then, having said so, going back to the law, is the promise of said promises enforceable by law, mutual consent. There has to be consideration. If there's no defense to the structure is invalid contract, there has to be a jurisdiction, and this has to be a duty of good faith. So, so in this case, obviously, we're going to be under the insurance law or the precedent case. So when you talk about your school or your daycare, you can probably call it a contract with a parent, but pretty much I would say, instead of, because there's some flexibilities, you can say it's a contract, but I won't call it a contract. It says, service policies and procedures is better worded, because you're not exchanging goods for any goods. So I wouldn't call it a contract. I would say, service policies and procedures. And again, I'm not an attorney. You can consult your attorney, but I would say, these are my policies and my procedures. And basically, it's your handbook. It's a handbook that you're going to give to the parents. And then the little let's say, for example, this little stars, 3 little stars center, these are the policy procedures of this center, of this business. And you can start with an introduction, and in that introduction, it's a welcoming statement. You can talk about how long you've been in business, the licenses that you have, the years of experience that you have, the classes that you have. It is all related about your center, so they know what kind of business you are. And again, I'm not putting it as a contract. I'm just putting it as policies and procedures, right? Some are policies. And then you can talk about enrollment, the enrollment. You can, and this can be applicable to probably, obviously, other schools have it, but for those that, for the small classes, the small daycares, your enrollment, pretty much the enrollment is, how do I get enrolled? You have to tell them, how do you classify a kid that is enrolled? Well, you have a deposit, is refundable, it's not refundable. You need to have emergency contacts. You need to have authorized personnel to pick the child. You have to have medical data. You have to have a time of trial and adaptation. So you have to disclose this kind of things that are important for the enrollment. How do you define when the kid is enrolled, and what are the period of enrollment, the deadlines, and the things that you have. And then you can put the services. So you talk about your business, and then you tell the conditions and how the kid or the student is being enrolled in your system, how it's going to be accepted in your school. And then you can disclose the services, my services, and you can put the schedule, you can put the schedule, especially for us at daycare. We're going to have meals at this time, we're going to have breaks at this time, we're going to have holidays, we're going to have the vacation in case, I have to go on vacation because I'm the only one taking care of the kids. What happens? Are your kids going to take care, or are you going to let for weeks or 3 weeks in advance that I'm going to go on vacation? Or the student vacations, right? The students are going to be on vacation because they're taking care of the baby 4 years old. What happened to the time of vacation? Are they going to lose their enrollment, or are they going to keep it? Those are things that you can address, especially in what are the guidelines of those. Obviously, payments. Your payments are the payments are going to be. Are you going to charge late fee? Are you going to charge interest? Are you going to charge, what are the payments due on the 1st, on the 10th, at the beginning of the year, in advance? Those are the rules, as I said, those are your policies. There's your center's policies. So it's pretty much, you're stepping out a little bit of what is a contract, but you're still setting your policies to say, you want to do business with me, this is how I play. This is, and you try to disclose everything as much as possible in a very structural way, that is easy for you. So when you are working with a parent, you can walk one by one. You can go over one by one in the meeting, and it is clear. I want my payments on Fridays. If there's an NF check, the payments can be online. You go to this portal, becoming a book, right? We talk about the communications. How do you want to communicate with a client? How you want them to communicate with you, and how you want to communicate with them. Let's say you have an emergency and you have to contact them. Well, you're going to contact them by telephone, by text, by mail, by both parties want to acknowledge. Both parties need to acknowledge the communication, because the word communication is pretty much make a notification common. So that's why it's a common communications. So key topics requiring communications: lateness, sickness, emergency information, authorized people. What are the things that really need to have that kind of communications? A change for emergency information, and authorized personnel. Authorized people that come and pick up the child, and they have to communicate with you, and you make sure that you get it, and you have to communicate with them, make sure that they get it. So how are they going to communicate with each other? Child behavior. Obviously we have children that are reflecting some of the environment that they live in house. The parents see that the father yells at everybody in the house and is drunk or whatever. The child is going to suffer. It's going to bring that to your class, either in a submissive way or in a reflective way and aggressive. So what do you do? Maybe there's an adaptation, or you see the kid that is bullying. I know probably all of you have more experience in this. I'm sure you go to seminars and know about how to treat bully behavior, but what do we do? Or the discipline. How about child behavior is critical because it can disrupt your class. It can disrupt the class. So obviously none of you are in high school, but you have a nice, beautiful age of children that are just beautiful at that age. From 4th to 5th grade, they're just kids. They're beautiful. But you see sometimes, a moment of adaptation, they cry too much, they have a behavior that you need to address many times. Maybe not be, but how many times we have children that have autism or have bipolar disorder because the way they were gendered, it was something that affects their emotional balance or their brain or their personality. So we don't know, but you have to address that. Healthy hygiene and safety. I think this is primordial. This is critical. What happens if they come sick? What happens if you have an outbreak of hepatitis in your school? Or what happens if you have a child that has hepatitis? How do you communicate? I'm sorry to bring all this stuff. It's like, oh, wow. But that's the nature of the business, right? That's the nature of the business. And you have to have all these components clear. Contagious, fever. You have to define. You need to define fever, diarrhea, something that happens: diarrhea, fever, nasal mucus, or red eye, or vomit in the last 24 hours. Don't bring your child. And even when it happens, I know that parents, they still bring their child. So what do you do? What do? You get it that the child is already there and like, oh wow, right? You take it to the nursery, but you don't have a nursery. If you have a school, you may have a nursery, but if you don't have a school because it's your childcare, what do? So you have to make sure that that's there. Many times, medications. What can you give medications to children? So make sure they have label with names and dates and dosage, especially for those that are living in coming into your house, the daycare. You have a child sick, child that is sick, you have to give medications and at what time, because the first medication is they have to have a level of within the blood system or in the system of the person, to make sure that it works well. So make that. Allergies. Oh, they have allergies. They cannot go, there are allergies to clothing, there are allergies to food, there are allergies to nuts. So you have to make sure that they have clothes, diaper, toys, especially for daycare providers. They bring their clothes. You want to bring clothes, and maybe you want to make sure to bring a pair of clothes, right? 2 diapers, 3 pants, because they get wet or something happens. The toys, you want to get them to bring home toys, or you want them to play with the toys that you provide. Probably for Sarah and Harvest, they don't need necessarily to bring toys, but how about additional clothes, especially for daycare or for something, and then what do you do with the clothes? Obviously you have a lost and found and things like that. But especially for those that are in daycare, daycare providers, do you want the kids to bring their home, their food and their candies, or you just prefer not to? And probably for Sarah and Harvest, I don't know if you provide food in your school, but and people can bring food. Of course, the 4-year kids, the 4th grade, 5th grade, they can bring homemade good. But how about candies, excessive candies? You want to do that. Some guidelines of hygiene and safety, because that also is going to reflect how you want to do your business. You want the kid that comes with a soda or with a can. Maybe sometimes parents accidentally give them this some energy drink, instead of drinks. It's amazing how parents, sometimes we do things, or you see that, wow, I cannot believe that happened. Meals and breaks, especially for those that are children. It's good to know that, hey, my kid is going to be sleeping between 2 and 3 or between 12 and 1. The meal, and it's going to leave for lunch at this time. And it's good to know. Accidents, emergencies, ambulance. Who's going to pay for the ambulance? Who's going to do? All these things are as part of doing business. We're doing business with people. We're keeping the livelihood of the life of one creature. What do we happen with emergencies? What happened with accidents? What happened with they're running and they trip and they break their forehead or they break an arm. It's like, what do we do? The accidents happen. So you need to make sure what are the guidelines on those things. I don't know for Sarah and Harvest, but obviously for daycares, pick up and child transfer. I mean, I think this is important. They sign off the children was picked up by whom. Many times you have kids and they park on your street. You have your house and they park in the places that they don't need to park. So you have to say, hey, by the way, don't park over there, don't park in this house, park here or park there, because you're living in a neighborhood. They don't want to, the parents, they may not want to have traffic in their home. You may have an extra charge your parents pick up late, or maybe not. That's something that you can discuss that. Only people listed in the emergency list are going to pick it up. Sometimes say, it's my brother, I can pick up my brother. And who are you? No, I'm the brother of the husband, or I'm the friend of the wife, or whatever. You have to be careful with who's picking up the children, and only the people listed in the emergency list. And obviously, you have to have, especially for those daycare centers, it's important. You give the wrong person the kid. Imagine you give the wrong person the kid because there was a family dispute between the brothers, or between the lovers, or between the husband and wife, or between the parents. It was between the parents and the family of the father. I mean, and you give the wrong kid, and then something. So be strict. Only the person listed in the emergency list. If not, I'm going to communicate, and that's where you have to communications. How am I going to communicate with you? I'm going to call you first, and if not, they're going to send you an email, and if not, they're going to send you a text, and if not, then I call the police or something. And then you may not be the executor of any custody or any divorce, but you have to, if you want, you can ask to retain court custody orders or custody plans signed, custody plans signed by both parties. And if changed, they need to submit a new signed copy. I'm sure that all of you have been in situations in which there's a divorce, and they use the child as a pawn for power. So the dad say, I'm going to pick up the child not today, and they pick up the child, but it was the time for the wife to pick it up. And then you accidentally give the child to the father, and there's a custody, and there's and I mean, you may be involved. I mean, obviously it's their problem, but you cannot be involved. So you have to make sure that, hey, it says that I have to give according to the custody, and the custody plan. It says that only the mom can pick it up. And that can say, oh, no, but we just changed it last week. Oh, well, you changed it last week. Then show me the updated custody plan signed by both parties that it changed last week. I mean, you're not a police, but you have to protect the child and stay out of those. I mean, many times he's like, oh, I don't know, but okay, but you pray that nothing happens, right? But you could, if you want, you can request this. I mean, it's public record, so you can request for custody plan for both parties, and protect yourself or protect the child, or be part of. Make sure that when they do this, they know that you're serious about it. It's like, when do you draw the line? Absenteeism is the same thing. Do they pay or not if they absent, and what's causing them? How many absent days do we have? I mean, of course, with some of you with Sarah and Harvest, you may have some academic records, but for children, for the people that live in the daycare, the absenteeism is you're keeping the space for that child. And they miss, one time month. What do you do? Is loss of your income, right? So what do you do? Expulsion, when is cancellation of services, when there's no payment, when there's violence, when there's lack of adaptation, or when there are regular absences. You can disclose this. Field trips, parties, you can please filters. How many field trips you're going to make a day, and what is the protocol? Parent visits, you can also disclose that. The parents, they can come and visit the place, but there's some guidelines, and you can make. I mean, it's pretty much, you're trying to protect all or your elements, or all your possible weaknesses that you have. And then maybe other things that I haven't think about, right? You may think about. And the purpose of this is that make sure that at the bottom of your document, there is this line that says, I read and understood practice and rules and principles of this place. You have your child's name, you have the child's name, you have the parent and guardian, you now have the name, the date, signature, and they sign, the parents sign. If you want, because if you want, you can put your signature. It's optional. It's optional if you want to put your signature, because that becomes both parties. But by them just saying that I read and understood the practices and centers of this place and signing, now they are accepting your rules and policies. And make sure that for your control, you have a copy of this and copy for the parent. And when you sit to take the kid, you read with all of them, or you give them to them and they sign, and then make sure that you have a check mark that you have everything that needs required, you have it. So you don't accept a child without all the things that you need. So you need the emergency form, you need the contacts, you need the allergy vaccination, you need the copy of the custodian, you need, and if you want, you can say, you want $200 for the app program. You can have a little bit of marketing here to support, because your business is, you have somehow you pay that program. But the key is you have a checklist of the things that you have to check. Okay, I have a according to the sheriff, any parent can pick up their child anytime unless an active restraining order is in place. Okay, that's I stand corrected. And my experience is many times, the parents use the child as a pawn, and I've seen. I have experiences that schools, even in public schools, the parents create a scene in the public school because the parent picks up the child early and it's not their time to pick up the child. So but yeah, if the sheriff tells you that, that's fine. And again, and thank you for that feedback. And the purpose of this is, you have a checklist of the things that you need to have before you enroll the child, so you don't have anything missing. We're going to see something similar when we do the employee handbook, the employees next week, or the last class. I'm in a situation right now that a person is working already in this business and is missing one part of that is important for them to check. So it was hired before all this lists were needed. So now, and this person needs to get fingerprinted, and she was hired because already needed or something, but we never got the fingerprints. So at this point, is you need now they're employed, and that is a little conflicted, to those things after the fact. So make sure that you have a great list. And then another thing is make it many times your document can be heavy because it's a lot of information. So make it visual friendly. It could be something very heavy like this, like it's a book, there's no breaks, there's just the title and the big section. Or it could be something, sometimes I've seen others that are just paragraphs or a lot of paragraphs. But another one is you can make highlights and you can put indents of each topic. And then under each topic, you can have a signature for the parent. And on each page, you have a signature of the parent. That means that the parent needs to sign every section and at the same time signs every page. That gives you not necessarily they read it, but it can be used for your defense, saying, hey, you know, the father signed this page, and here's why I'm telling you that, you know, I have to let your child go, or I have to do this action, and you sign it on this date. So it is easier to find if you have something broken down with bullet points than if it is just a single lengthy bulky page, or even if it is like some insurance contracts, you know, they put a lot of paragraphs to break it down, and you have to know where you are. But in your business, you can even help you, you know, to have a good header, and then sub items, and then at the end of each header, or at the end of each topic, you know, the parents sign initial. And if they're both parents, you can have both parents, right? Because father and mother, you know, the child has two. Well, you know, now with science, you can have a child without a father, right? But you know, make sure that the people that's bringing the child have that. And it's just I mean, these are some thoughts that I have about this situation of contracts and agreements. I'm sure you already have them, but if not, you know, CAPS law has a lot of orders and options, and obviously I'm sure you have, your school has a good attorney that is helping to review that, but it's not just an overview. So with this, I can leave the 5 minutes that we have for conversations and questions. Okay, been in that situation, it is considered kidnapping if you refuse to release the child on the childcare schedule. Yes, you're right. I know, in this legal environment, you know, it's true. Yeah, then you consider you kidnapping the child because you don't want to give it. But all you have to do is, yes, and your policy and procedure says, you know, I'm going to release the child only to the authorized parent. And and then if the person, I mean the parent, if you have the signature of the father and the signature of the mother, and then that's part of the contact, yes, you know, you can go with that if both of them are that. But what about if I say, you know, you never seen me as a father, you know, hey, you know, I'm the father of Mike, and yes, we share the same last name, and here's the father, Mike. If I'm not in the emergency list, or person is reported, even though I can go to the sheriff, the police, says, hey, I'm the father, I'm the biological father of this child, they don't want to give it to me, you know. If you have the policies, procedures, that will help you. But yeah, you're right. You know, it's in labor law, the same thing, you know, the federal says something, the state says something, but it's just prudence, practice, practical wisdom of prudence, you know, protect yourself the best you can, and we'll hope that everything goes well. But that's a good point. It's true. Thank you for sharing. Any other comment? Any other observation? Again, I'm not an attorney. It's just business practice, business experience. You know, I recommend that you have a good attorney that reviews your documents, that you interact with parents. CAPS law has options and some handbooks, and the rest is thank you for all you do for the new generation, the future generation. It is impressive. I respect you a lot because this is fun. It's nice. It's a nice age, but it's a lot of responsibility, and there's a lot of work that you do every day. So thank you for that. If we don't have any more questions, we can, I'm gonna stop the recording, so we can have any conversations if you want.